But let's talk more about how President Trump's tariffs on China could impact drug prices with NBC News health and medical reporter Berkeley Lovelace Jr. Good to have you with us. You wrote a piece on this for NBCnews.com. First, help us understand just how big of a role China plays in manufacturing the ingredients that go into their drugs.
Yeah, so it plays a big role. So over the last several decades, generic drug manufacturing has moved overseas as it's become less profitable in the U.S. So about half of all of our generic drugs come from abroad. About 80% of all of our active pharmaceutical ingredients come from places like China and India. So China is playing a bigger and bigger role. The number of manufacturing facilities in China has skyrocketed over the last few years. And so India is still the largest producer, but China is kind of right up there. And so we're increasingly reliant on other countries for our drugs.
And now that these tariffs on China have come into effect, what kind of impact do we see this having on drug prices?
Yeah, so it'll take a few months, but experts expect prices will increase. There are contracts in place that keep prices fixed, but as those contracts kind of turn over and expire over the next few months, we'll start to see price increases. And so for hospitals and pharmacies, this could be a big deal because they may start stockpiling up on drugs to try to avoid this higher cost. And that's a bad thing for places like rural hospitals who don't typically have the manpower to make calls and make sure they stockpile up on those drugs, so we could start seeing some disparities as well. But it will take a few months before we start seeing these price increases. Although I will say experts expect there will be shortages almost immediately from this as well because of the price increase.
That drives up high prices as well, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned the contracts. Are there any other provisions in place that could prevent some of these higher prices?
Yeah, so there are some protections in place. There is the Inflation Reduction Act rule that limits the price increases or drug prices that limit the cost faster than the price of inflation. And there's also state anti-price gouging laws that limit price increases. And so there are some protections that could limit those increases, but it remains to be seen whether or not companies will be able to get around these loopholes or not to be able to, at least stay in
the
business.
Prices at least, yeah.
Stay in business.
Berkeley,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Important issue. It impacts a lot of people.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.